Good morning, grade 10 students. I hope you're all doing well. Today is Tuesday, March 17. We're going to start with a new section, lesson number 2, the respiratory system. It's section 33.3. Please make sure to open your books on page 963. The objectives of this section is to identify the function of the respiratory system and to explain how oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange and transported throughout the body. Finally, to determine the mechanism involved in breathing. Why do we need to breathe? All cells in our body, especially the brain cells, require a constant supply of oxygen for cellular respiration in order for them to survive. The respiratory system works together with the circulatory system to provide our cells with oxygen. We have discussed in the previous section how the heart and the lungs work together to supply blood for tissues and organs. Any interruption in that vital function can be fatal and deadly. What is the function of the respiratory system? The human respiratory system picks up oxygen from the air we inhale or breathe in and releases carbon dioxide from the air we exhale or breathe out. The circulatory system links this exchange of gases in the lungs with our body tissues. As you can see in the figure, the process of inhalation is represented by the arrow that enters from our nose, and the process of exhalation is represented by the arrow that takes out air from our nose. The structure of the respiratory system consists of the nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea and lungs. Please make sure to look at the figure and spot out where are they located. Let's start with the nose. Air enters the nose or the nasal cavity. Now there are mucus in the nose that trap microorganisms and moistens the air. Air moves from the nose to a cavity at the back of the mouth, called the pharynx or the throat. The pharynx serves as a passageway for both food and air. Air then moves to the larynx, which is the voice box that contains the vocal cords. After the larynx comes the trachea or the windpipe. At the entrance of the trachea, there is a flap of tissue that is called the epiglottis, which we have discussed before in the digestive system. The epiglottis is a flap that closes on the trachea to prevent food from passing through it. Mucus in the trachea further trap microorganisms and particles that are moved away from the lungs toward the pharynx. This mucus can be later swallowed or spit out. From the trachea, air moves into two large tube cavities called the bronchi. Each bronchus leads to one lung that is also divided into bronchioles. Bronchioles continue to divide to reach a series of tiny sacs called the alveoli that are surrounded by a network of capillaries and are highly vascularized. Imagine the bronchus representing a highway, while the bronchioles represent the alley that end up at houses, which are the alveoli. How are gases exchanged in the alveoli? Oxygen diffuses from the alveoli to blood due to the greater concentration in the lungs than in the blood, while carbon dioxide moves from the blood into the alveoli due to its greater concentration in the blood. The inhaled air contains 21% oxygen and 0.04% carbon dioxide, while the exhaled air contains less than 15% oxygen and 4% carbon dioxide. It is very important for you to know that we only use approximately 7% out of the 21% oxygen we inhale, and the rest is exhaled again. The percentage of inhaled CO2 increases from 0.04% to 4% due to the release of carbon dioxide from tissues that travels to the alveoli to be exchanged and released outside the body. In this figure, you notice how the alveoli are highly vascularized and how exchange happens at this level. The oxygen and the carbon dioxide is transported through the blood. Dissolved oxygen binds to hemoglobin, a protein on red blood cells, and transported throughout the body. However, carbon dioxide is transported in 3 different ways. They bind with water on red blood cells, forming carbonic acid, and the rest either dissolve with plasma or bind with hemoglobin. How does inhalation and exhalation occur? The diaphragm is a muscle located at the bottom of the chest cavity. You can see it in the figure in blue color at the bottom of the lungs. Inhalation allows the diaphragm to contract and flatten, raising the rib cage, while exhalation allows the diaphragm to relax by going back to its dome shape, deflating the lungs, and returning the rib cage to its place. End of activity 33.3, part 1. Thank you for your attention.